When you go out to film with your drone and you just want to get footage because you're in a really nice location and you want to show it off, that's great. But oftentimes you can come back with really long clips where you've gone from point A to point B because it's been quite a nice scenic route, but then the clip's just really too long. And so the best way to cut that down, and the first way that you can do that, is by using speed ramps. Using a speed ramp means that you can reduce the length of a clip without having to cut out a section of that clip. So if you want to keep that whole long clip that you shot because the whole journey that you flew was actually quite nice, then you can add a speed ramp in the middle, which will allow you to speed up that middle section. I'm using Final Cut Pro to do this, but you can do this in pretty much any editing software. In Final Cut, all you have to do is, at the point where you want the speed ramp to start, select the clip and hit Shift B, and then at the point where you want the speed ramp to stop, hit the clip and select Shift B again. And then in that middle section where it says normal, you can change the speed to whatever duration you want it to be. You don't just have to do this with long clips, you can do it with shorter clips as well if you just want to use it as a particular style. But for long clips, this is just a really great way of not losing anything from that clip that you shot. So at this point, if you're thinking, okay, I don't really want to use speed ramps because it doesn't fit in with the video style that you're making, that's absolutely fine, because there's another way that you can break up your long clips, and that's using motion graphics. So again, if you don't want to chop up that long clip, you can add motion graphics to the middle of the clip where it kind of slows down and gets a little bit boring until the point where you want the viewer to pay more attention again at the end. And if it feels like with motion graphics, it's just not something that you can do yourself, you don't have to, because the sponsor of this video is Motion VFX, and they have an entire range of motion graphics that you can use in your projects. So if you're looking for titles or callouts, transitions, anything like that, there's a huge range, and it means that you're completely covered for the entire project. You've got everything that you need on Motion VFX. And Motion VFX have their own installer as well. So once you install MInstaller, it means when you buy your assets and you link your account to your installer, it will download all those assets to the MInstaller, and then you can install them into your editing software, whether that's Final Cut Pro or DaVinci Resolve. There's also free assets that you can try if you just want to give it a go before you actually jump in and buy any of the paid assets, so it's worth checking those out. But if you do want to buy any assets, then you can use the code Tamara10 and that'll give you a 10% discount. So for these long drone clips, adding motion effects, like I said earlier, is going to break those clips up so that they don't seem so long, because you're giving the viewer something to do. They're going to be reading something. And one of the other things that you can do is add callouts. So if you've got specific landmarks or points of interest in those clips of yours, you can use callouts, and that'll give detailed information about those points of interest. So with Motion VFX and using callouts, it's really simple. All you have to do is drag that callout over the top of your clip, drag it to the duration of the length that you want it to last for, and then you'll see that there's a little tracker box on the call out, so you can resize that so that you're basically covering the area that you want it to track. Hit track, it'll track the object, and then when you hit play you can see that the call out moves along with the clip. And the same thing goes for the titles as well, although you're not really using the tracking feature. But when you drop a title onto your timeline, you can resize it to whatever duration you want, and then you can also choose whether you want it to animate in and animate out, and you can change a lot of the other parameters as well so that you can fine tune it. You can change your font, the size, move it around, and just customize it to how you want it to look for your video. Motion VFX also has a standalone tracking engine which is called M-Tracker, so you can actually put objects in your scene and it'll move around in the scene as if it's supposed to be there. So you can do this with waypoints, you can do it with text, you can do it with titles. It's really cool. All you have to do is drag M-Tracker onto your actual clip. It'll track the entire clip, and then you can drag a title or an object above your clip, and then you copy the tracking information from the clip to the object that you've just dropped onto the timeline. It'll apply that tracking information and then you can manipulate it in your scene. It's really awesome. You can change the orientation, the scale, the position. There's so much to play around with, so you can make it really fit in with your scene. So along with the speed ramps and the motion graphics, if you actually did want to just say, okay, do you know what, I'm going to cut this clip in the middle and I'm going to trim it down so that I've got two different clips. The other way that you can kind of merge those clips back together so it looks quite nice and seamless is using transitions. And again, Motion VFX has an entire library of transitions with different styles that you can download from the website. So you can chop up both of your clips and then you can place a transition between the two clips. Which transition you use is really going to depend on the clip and the movement that you have in that clip. So if you were sort of panning from left to right with the clip, then you might want to use a transition which is sliding from left to right so that it kind of looks seamless, or some kind of fade transition. And with transitions you can change the duration of how long you want them to last. And so this last point isn't necessarily to do with cutting down long clips, but more so about enhancing the viewing experience, because with drone footage there's no sound effects, so you have to add those in yourself. And a lot of the time, sure, you don't need them, but if you add an underlying sound effect which you can just about hear, then it just adds that little bit something extra to the sequence. And then music as well, and this is going to be completely subjective and it's down to you to just choose what kind of feeling you're trying to portray in your video and how you want the viewer to feel whilst they're watching your video. They're just a few tips if you're struggling with the long shots and you just want to make your drone footage look a little bit more exciting and engaging. Thanks to Motion VFX for sponsoring this video. Like I said, if you use the code Tamara10, you'll get a 10% discount, and you can also try it out just by trying some of the free assets that they have on there. But thanks for watching, and don't forget to give the video a like if you found it useful, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.